I'm Jamila Payne from Color Me Crafty, and I want to welcome you to How to Layer HTV. I am going to show you how to layer vinyl, how to layer it when it's a little bit more of an intricate design, and how to set it up in Cricut Design Space, and what to do if you purchase a design that is in a bunch of different layers that doesn't need to be. All right, let's get started. The first thing you are going to do is open your design in Cricut Design Space. Now, I created this design, but I also wanted to show you what you should do if you have purchased a file and it's like in a million different layers. There's no combined pass, and I'll just show you. So with this one, I did not combine everything. And as you can see over here in the layers panels, there's some unnecessary layers like this black in between the letters. And then we have all of our layers that are connected together. So what you would do if you purchase a file that is like this is you want to go in and ungroup. We're going to ungroup one more time, and then I'm going to turn off the layers that are correct for now. Now I'm going to get rid of these black layers in between the layers. And if you want to select all of them at once, you can hold down your shift key and select them and just click delete. Or you can go up here to the little trash can up here. And then I'm going to select all of those, and you can either click attach or you can click combine and weld, and that'll make them all one layer. Now when you get ready to go cut these, they aren't all single layers. So if we did not attach those layers, let me show you how the machine would want to cut those. As you can see, all of those layers are separate layers. And you don't want that because when you're doing layers, it's already a difficult design. Most of the time when you get an SVG file, everything is already together the way that it needs to be, like here. So we have our 5 layers, and everything is already attached the way it should be. But if you notice up here, there's a little red exclamation mark in a circle. If you click on that, it'll tell you what the error is. And what the error is for this is that it's too large. So the first thing I do is resize my design. I am putting it on a t-shirt for me, and I usually size those between 10.5 and 11. The next thing I do is pick out the colors, and I change each layer into the color that I'm using. And I do that for 2 reasons. One, I want to see how the finished design is going to look. And 2, I want to make sure I have enough material for each of those layers. So I'm going to go ahead and change the colors. And over here in the layers panel, you just click on the color, on the layer that you're working with. Go up here and change the color to what you want it to be. And you just continue to do that with each layer. So now we have our design, and we can go ahead and get everything cut out. Obviously, each of these layers are going to cut out separately on its own mat. And if you go to the next screen, it'll show you what each of your mats are going to look like. You need to make sure to mirror each layer because we are working with heat transfer vinyl. And if we don't mirror it, it will come out backwards when we press it. Then click on continue, let it find your machine, And we're going to cut on the vinyl setting. We are using Sizer HTV except for this blue layer, and that is the Cricut brand vinyl. I wanted to walk you through setup using the computer because it's easier to share my screen, but for the remainder of the project I am going to use my tablet to get everything cut out. So here you see me resizing it on my tablet so that I can get it cut out using my Maker 3. I like to make sure to gather all of my supplies before I get started, and again, that is so that I can make sure that I have all the materials that I need. I have enough materials, and I have an idea of what the colors are going to look like together. I also have my weeding tools here. These two are my favorite. That is the Cricut True Control and the Pen, and then this is the slice that I use to cut down my vinyl after it's cut. I'm gonna go ahead and click on Make It. I'm gonna select on mat because I'm using a sticky mat, and go ahead and click on Confirm after that. And then I'm gonna go through all of these layers and make sure to mirror them. In the previous step, you saw me do this on the computer, but because I am not using the computer to cut this out, I'm having to do it again on the tablet. Go ahead and click on Next after you have everything mirrored, and I am going to cut everything on the vinyl setting because that is the setting that I use when I'm cutting HTV. Unless you're using a specialty vinyl, you are going to place the vinyl down on the mat, shiny side down. So the matte side of your vinyl roll should be facing up. And once I get my material all straightened out, I use my slice and cut off the excess at the bottom. Go ahead and place your vinyl in the machine to cut. I always cut in the order that Cricut Design Space tells me to, especially with layers, because with each color on the screen, I know what color is going on the mat and what color is going into my machine. Instead of just standing around, I make sure that I am weeding my layers in between, and that just kind of saves me a little bit of time. I don't cut everything and then weed. I weed as I'm cutting. And continue cutting and weeding until you have cut all of your materials out, making sure to sit each design aside in a way that it's not going to stick to itself or anything else. Once I have everything cut and weeded out, I like to stack my vinyl in the order that it's going to be pressed. And I do that because, especially with a design like this, it would be easy for me to press this design sideways or upside down. But if I stack them one on top of the other so that I know exactly how they're going to be pressed, then I don't run into that issue. Now, of course, you cannot press them all at one time. You are going to have to press them one at a time. And I also keep my screen in front of me so that I can see exactly how the design should be. Just continue placing your layers together until you have your design stacked in the way that you are going to press it. I know this doesn't make much sense right now because we still have the transfer backing on the layers, but it'll make a little bit more sense in a bit. Next, I'm going to preheat my press. I am using the HTV Rod Auto Press, and I am setting it for 320 for 20 seconds. The last step is to go ahead and get everything pressed. What I do first is find the center of my shirt, and the way I do that is I fold it in half, shoulder to shoulder, and then I make sure that everything is all lined up together. I check the armpits, I check the bottoms, then I lay it on the press sideways, straighten everything out, and give it a quick press just to get the line down the center. Finally, time to press. So I take my design completely together still, and I match up the two ends, and I give it a little pinch at the top and then another little pinch at the bottom. Those little pinches that I put in there, I line up with the line in my shirt. So I sit the whole design down on there, and then I pull up everything but the bottommost layer. It did adjust a little bit, so I'm just going to straighten everything out again and then give it a quick press just for a few seconds. All I need is to have enough heat to activate the adhesive on the back of the vinyl. Until you get to the very last layer, all you need is 2 to 3 seconds. Like I said, you just need it to stick enough to the shirt to be able to remove the transfer backing. Remove the transfer backing, and be careful when you're doing this because we did not use the full amount of time, so it's not going to be super stuck onto the shirt. You can see right on the edge there at the right bottom that there's a little bit of lifting, but that gets fixed with the next few presses. Now that you have the bottommost layer down, you can put your remaining layers on one by one and go ahead and give them a quick press. Use a Teflon sheet in between the press and the vinyl just to make sure that you don't melt the vinyl onto your press. Continue pressing each layer of vinyl on one by one until you've reached the end of all of your layers. Because we all know that sometimes cotton shrinks with heat, occasionally you'll have some areas that don't want to line up. Go ahead and grab a pair of scissors and cut off the part that is not lining up and then line it up by itself. Because this is the last layer, we are going to press it at 320 for the full 20 seconds. Remove the remaining transfer sheets, and if you like, you can press for 10 to 15 seconds on the back just to give it a little bit more adhesion. But there are our layers. I think the hardest thing about layering a design is the fact that you have to do so many different presses. And the way I do my layered designs, by putting the whole design together and then pressing them one by one, I feel like is an easier way to press a layered design. It also allows you to see the finished design before you press,